Hi everybody, this is just a short little video to get you familiar with the Flinn Chemventory system. I sent everybody an email that had a invitation code and a link to the Chemventory system. If you click that link, it's going to bring you into it, and probably the first thing you're going to have to do is log in. If you have a Flinn account, this is where you'll enter it. If you don't, go to sign up here. It'll ask you to put in some basic information and create an account. So, but if you already, once you have your account created, go ahead and enter your credentials and hit login. Now I've already put in my invitation code, so this is the screen that opens up for me. It'll probably prompt you to put in your invitation code, hit submit, and then you'll be brought to a similar screen. This ribbon up here has got 4 buttons. This is where you're going to be doing most of the interaction with this screen. The home button's fairly useless. As soon as it goes to there, you'll see that it tells you all the cool stuff you can do, but basically this is just an advertisement for the system. Can't click on any of these things. The only active things up here are for getting the registration and invitation codes set up. So instead you want to click on this inventory button, and what we're interested in doing is adding a chemical. So we hit add a chemical. Sorry if I did that sort of fast. Go back up here and add a chemical or kit. Just click on that, and then we have some choices about how we want to add the chemical. We can search for it. That's the default. Within that search, it says, do you want to search everything? Do you just want to search Flinn catalog items? Do you want to search Flinn kits, or do you want to search for pieces of kits? Probably pieces of Flinn kits. Or you can add in chemical manually. You have to know all this information to add it manually. I mean, not all of it, but a lot of it if you want to do a good job adding it. And there's also from a list. It's a fairly long list. I don't know if it's all inclusive. It's probably everything that Flinn sells, but you're probably best off just by searching. And so what we're going to do is we're going to try and add something pretty common. We're going to add salt. We're going to see what comes up. So give it a second to think. Okay, now there are lots of different types of salt, and probably what we're thinking about is sodium chloride. So let's see here. We got rock salt, and we go down, and we also have, this is probably your lab or reagent grade. You see it, sodium chloride 100 grams, sodium chloride 300 grams. It doesn't really matter which one we pick, as long as we're confident that we've got what we're looking for. And go ahead and click on sodium chloride 100 grams, and it opens up this screen, and that's where it is pre-filled in all of that chemical information. You got the name, the chemical formula, and in the synonym box you may want to go ahead and add some things. It says the synonym is table salt. The reason that this is important is because if you want to go ahead and search the inventory, you can put in a bunch of terms. If you put in sodium chloride, this will come up as a result. But maybe you just want to type in salt. Well, if you type in salt, this will probably come up as a result too, since the synonym is table salt. For example, if you had baking soda in your chemical inventory, as long as you had baking soda listed as a synonym for sodium bicarbonate, it'll come up if you just use the search box on searching your inventory. If you don't have baking soda listed, you have to type in sodium bicarbonate to find it. So here you would go ahead and enter the specific information for the chemical that you're trying to add to our inventory. It's, if we're just adding salt that we buy from a grocery store, because reminder, once you go ahead and you bring things like grocery store salt into the school for use in a science lab, it's considered a chemical, and we have to treat it, and we have to catalog it as such. So you could go ahead and change whatever this is. You could say Diamond Salt Company. Okay, and then we'd also remove this catalog number. It would still be reagent grade. Disposal information is important here because Flinn's pretty helpful with that. If you've got a bunch of materials left over from doing a lab that you're not going to go ahead and put back on the shelf because they've been used and they're not appropriate to use again, you have to dispose of it. And how do you do it? Well, they're probably a few different choices, and a lot of times it's not okay to throw it in the trash. Flinn gives you some guidance about the things that are okay for landfill disposal, things that are okay for drain disposal, or the things that have to be handled specially and taken away by a chemical waste company. So for example, 26A, if I remember correctly, that's landfill disposal. I mean, it's table salt. You can just go ahead and throw it in the garbage. It's also got the CAS number. Of course, it's in the class salt, and other information. Over here we have GHS information, what the signal word is. I imagine if you swallow enough salt, that is very bad for you. You'll notice that there are no pictograms checked here for salt because it doesn't have any of these danger pictograms associated with it. And there's also going to be a nice link to a safety data sheet. Down here in the bottom is where you're going to enter the specific inventory information. So you're going to look at what you have, and you're going to say, okay, well, I've got 4 bottles of this salt, and you know, whether it be from Diamond or Morden or whatever, and you say, okay, this is how much salt I have, and get a good approximate amount of what you have. Choose the proper units. Let's try and keep everything in the metric system. So I'm going to just, for example, say, I've got 2.5 kilograms of salt. The other thing that you have to enter here is a reorder amount. Now that's something that I don't know if we're going to take advantage of. It's so that this inventory system could automatically alert us when we run low. We're going to have to see how that works. So it's probably a good idea just to put 0 here for now. And if you put 0, it'll take it. You can't leave it blank. It'll tell you to go back. We also have to enter in the location. This is one of the important things. Now, what we're going to try and do here is do chemical inventory for where things are. We might have 5 kilograms of salt at the high school between the biology prep room and the chemistry prep room, but we want to go ahead and identify those 2 stores separately. So here we would say, okay, it's at MHS and it's in the biology prep room, and it's in cabinet that we're going to label number 6. Now, in terms of what we call the storeroom and the shelf location, that's something that we're going to decide. I mean, do we call that the D22, 24 prep room? We'll worry about those things later. And then we're also going to have to label all of our cabinets so we know where to find these things. Once we're done, we hit Add Chemical. Okay, it gives you an overview of everything that you just put in. If you need to edit anything, you can go ahead and hit Edit Info. It'll open it back up. And you hit Submit. Oh. And I guess every time it wants you to make sure that you're putting in the reorder amount. That's a little frustrating, but that's okay. Okay, and there it is. If we go back to the inventory button on the ribbon, it then shows us our active inventory, and after a while this will be a lot. Let's see what happens when we search for salt. Boom, salt comes up. It doesn't look like it did, but salt came up because it is in there as a synonym for sodium chloride. Okay, so when you're working with this stuff through the year, you might say, okay, well, this is great, we have an inventory, but how do we go ahead and keep it up? Let's say you need to consume some salt for a lab that you're doing. Well, as you go ahead and pull this stuff off the shelf and you want to update the inventory, you come in here, you click on your inventory item, it tells you how much you started with, and then you go to Edit Info, go down here, and you have some choices about what do we want to do. Well, are we going to add or remove? Probably you're going to end up removing and say, let's say you used 1/2 kilogram in this lab. You say remove 1/2 kilogram from our current amount, hit Submit, and it will go ahead and it'll update the amount. It's going to be important that we try to stay on top of that. Also in the inventory section, you can do other things. You can click on any one of your items and then click this inventory list function. A little window pops up. You've got some choices of what you want to do. You can download the safety data sheet, which is handy to have. There we go, safety data sheet for sodium chloride. You can go ahead and send the label to a print queue. So let's say you need a label, and really for things like table salt, we should have a GHS, globally harmonized system appropriate label. So we hit send to print queue, and it opens this window, which you can also get to. Like here we are in the inventory, we can also get to there, and it says, okay, well, these are all the labels that we need to print, and once we have enough to print on a whole piece of paper, you would go ahead and print them unless you needed it immediately. But you see right now this piece of paper is blank. So you come over here and you say, okay, well, what do I want to print? I need a label for my table salt. And I've got 4 bottles of it, so I'm going to need 4 labels. And oh, while I'm at it, that Arm & Hammer baking soda, I better throw a label on that too. And so I'm going to need 2 of those. It'll show you how it's going to print out over there, and you hit print, and this is what the label looks like. Over here in this blank area, those where the GHS pictorial pictures would be. Since both salt and baking soda don't have any, that's why it's blank. This will print out on labels. We'll go ahead and get some appropriate label paper, and then you would go ahead and stick that on your bottle. All right, so hopefully this gets you started on how to use the Flinn Chemventory system. I really think that once we have this populated, once we put a little bit of effort into getting the inventory all set, it'll really be helpful for us. I know there are a lot of times when people are looking for specific things. This will be a quick and easy way that everyone can access. Everyone can see what we have so that they can see what they need. And it also has a lot of nice things such as printing the labels, printing the safety sheets, and it's going to be a good way to manage our chemical storages in the future. All right, if you have any specific questions, please go ahead and let me know. Thanks.